You can listen to The Professional Left on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for January 19th, 2018. It's not safe for work.
Coming to you live from the Porn Star Payoff Department of Delaware Essentials, LLC. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Hey, Blue Gal.
Hi. Yeah, you know, if you're an old porn star and you need cash now.
Yeah. Actually, that's a perfect musical lead-in to a new sponsor. We have a new fake sponsor this week.
Oh, wow. We have a new fake sponsor.
Yeah. We're
cool.
literally having to shed fake sponsors. We have so many new ones. I'm sorry, Croc Blockers. We still love you. and no one's ordered a pair of Dukakis khakis in a while because I think that's because of seasonal.
Yeah,
apparently
that's a seasonal thing. That's a summer thing. Yeah.
South of that Manson-Nixon line, apparently there's 3 feet of snow on the ground and hell to pay, so nobody's ordering those. But we do have a brand new sponsor.
Okay, let's hear about him.
We'd like to welcome Not Exactly Legal Zoom. Not associated with Legal Zoom. At all. It's not. This is not exactly Legal Zoom. So the question that they have for you, the copy that they provided me, is: do you have a porn star in your past you need to keep quiet? A Russian air quote bankers with names like air quote Ivan the Ice Pick. Do you have those people in your past who need to be air quote taken care of? Well, thanks to Delaware's lax incorporation laws, for just $300, Not Exactly Legal Zoom can help you out there, you in Radioland, set up your very own shady shell corporation of your very own in just minutes. So start paying off those politically inconvenient skeletons in your closet today with Not Exactly Legal Zoom. Only $300, 10% of which goes to the Professional Left podcast.
Not Exactly Legal Zoom is not associated with Legal Zoom, and they're also not associated with the Alabama LLC, Barely Legal Zoom.
Yeah, no, that was
back
closed
when Judge
down.
Roy Moore was running. Yeah, that Barely Legal Zoom was a whole thing. But
they'll be restarting that once Trump tries to make him a cabinet official or something. Who knows? Who knows? Just the worst trash in America are now being put into the highest offices in this country on purpose.
Yep.
And that's where we live now. My God, what a week. We are sitting here on a Friday afternoon.
Well, we wanted to make sure that, that the Trump government, the Republican-led Republican Congress with the Republican president and the Republican House and Republican Senate.
Republican courts.
And even the Republican courts, that when that government shut down due to a total lack of understanding from the Republican Senate Majority Leader as to what the Republican president wants to do about immigration.
Yes.
I'm going to keep using that adjective. I know we have a war on pronouns.
We do.
But we need the adjective Republican to be everywhere, okay? Because this is what's going on. We have a Republican president, a Republican Senate, a Republican House, and they don't know what the Republican president wants.
No.
And
but a lot of things. It's not just immigration. I mean,
it's on everything. Yeah.
He monkey wrenched the fuck out of the chip negotiations.
Yep.
With a tweet. Just dropped it like a grenade in the middle of the conversation, undoing months of work. He fucked up FISA that way. He's just a baby. He's just a moron who doesn't understand anything about anything. And he keeps lobbing
and enjoys creating chaos.
Yes, he
enjoys
does.
It.
Because it's a reality show. So the more chaos you create, and I literally saw on MSNBC moments ago, which has apparently officially changed its title, its working corporate title to Breaking News, because that's all you ever see on the TV screen, Breaking News. And then it's Jansen, the most useless haircut on the whole network, interviewing 3 white lady Trump voters about why they still love Donald Trump, because that's where we live.
That's all we do. Yes.
But that Donald Trump's deal-making abilities are going to be put to the test. Really being put to the who? Okay, you know what?
They had a deal. They had a deal on Monday. They had a good deal, a good deal for Trump. He was going to get some funding for border security that he could pretend was for the wall.
It's not making a deal if you walk into a deal that's already made drop trow, take a shit on the desk, and leave, and then say, I don't understand why nothing's getting done, why the Democrats must stop everything. Right. And then you walk in and volunteer to wipe the shit off the desk with the Democrats.
Right, right.
That's not making a deal. That's fucking a deal up. Now, this is what I think might have actually happened. Because Donnie Two Times or Neutron Don or President Stupid or President Shithole or whatever you want to call him, he has so many names, only understands the world of fucking people over in the real estate market, screwing contractors, lying to chumps, ripping them off, bleeding their life savings away, tossing them overboard, and then attacking them with an army of hack mob lawyers if they try to get their money back or try to get satisfaction from him. That's literally the only thing he knows how to do. Cheat the system to enrich himself and his warped inbred family. So he really thinks the Democratic Party is like Deutsche Bank, that he can just fuck up and fuck up and fuck up, and eventually someone will come and bail him out. Because that's how the system works. I, Donald Trump, get to do whatever the fuck I want. Now I'm the most powerful man in the world, and I can just shit on everything, break every piece of china in the White House, call everyone liars, accuse everyone of everything, and do it every goddamn day of your life. And eventually, some large pile of money, in this case votes or political power, will come gliding in and save me.
Yep.
And in this case, what this translates to is the Republican Party, who has been calling people like you and me, Blue Gal, traitors 20, 25 years, who've told everybody who ever voted for them that we are the problem. We suck. We're awful. We hate America. We can't be trusted with a goddamn thing. We just want to take your hard-earned money and give it to scary brown people who don't work for a living, because that's just what we do. Those people have now come crawling to us, begging for us to save them from themselves, from the monster political shithole party they have created and the corner they have painted themselves into by taking the worst human in America and making him their god for the next 4 years. They're now begging the people they shit on to save them. And
I was going to say, Mitch
already.
McConnell was so cooperative and helpful and wanting to come to an agreement with Barack Obama so many times. And, bipartisanship, spirit of bipartisanship.
So many times.
Making real difference in the world. And
it's not like he's still a Supreme Court seat or anything.
Right.
Or every single thing he tried to do, or obstructed every single thing, or called him a liar every day, or ran a bunch of fucking witch hunts when he could have been actually investigating everything. No, the Republican Party is an obstructionist party, is a seditious obstructionist party that hates government. And now they're in charge.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because the dynamic between the Republican Congress and the Republican base is really interesting.
Yes.
The Republican base, Donald Trump said I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and they'd still love me. Here, let's have a test of that, because it's clear to me that the wall, which let's be really clear about this, the wall is not about immigration.
No.
This is the thing that people on the media never talk about. The wall isn't about stopping undocumented people from coming to the United States. No. The wall is a monument to white supremacy. The wall is a symbol that America is for white people only. And sure, if Grandma Mima needs a lady to come in and work for $3 an hour to wipe her butt and make sure that she gets her applesauce fed to her, Consuela's a treasure. We'll have treasure. That. We're glad to have that.
She's one of the good ones, Blue Gal.
She's one of the good ones. We'll have that kind of racism in our life.
Sure.
But we need that monument to keep. It's not to keep out people. It is to keep a sense of identity for white people.
It is, if I may,
that we are in charge of America.
It is the last and greatest Confederate monument.
Exactly. It's the last Confederate monument. That's what it is. And
they're hysterical to build it. And you know what else it has going for it? It's 2 single-syllable words.
Right.
The wall.
Right.
Even reprogrammable meatheads
can understand
understand the wall.
Right. And they can understand Mexico's going to pay for it, which means I'm not responsible for it's not going to hurt my finances in any way, even though actually it will. It will hurt your finances a lot.
Very badly. Very, very badly. But you don't care about that because you're an idiot. So.
Right. So this monument, this last Confederate monument to white supremacy and racism, is the thing that cannot be shot on Fifth Avenue.
Right.
Because if you shoot that on Fifth Avenue, as you say, the people who need that one-syllable word will notice that. And you look on Twitter at people that I have checked to make sure they're not Russian bots, and this wall thing is it's such an important symbol for them that
Yes.
their America is still their America.
Right.
And they will not accept compromise on this in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're being ginned up by Ann Coulter and other people on Fox who are racist.
Mm-hmm.
But genuinely, there is a genuine line being drawn between Donald Trump, the Republican Party, and their base on this wall thing.
Yes.
And Trump seems to understand that.
Yes.
But Mexico isn't going to pay for it.
There have been a parade of smirking Republican congressmen on television, all wearing the same really smug, self-satisfied, you can't fucking touch us smirk, saying, well, it's going to be sort of a wall. And
this was what John Kelly was trying to get away with this week, right?
And there are tricks and ways and NAFTA, and we're going to tweak this, and we're going to have this other thing, and remittance payments, and we'll pay for it. We have to front the money, of course, but it'll all be paid for. It'll all be paid, which is, the scam right out of Trump University.
Absolutely.
Give us your money now, and the thing of value will come floating down to you from heaven later. But give us the cash up front. And there's reconciling this smug, self-satisfied look on their face with the lies that are coming out of their mouth. Mm-hmm. It should dawn on you the reason they're smirking is because whoever the hell they're talking to on television is precluded from asking them the one question that would clarify all this, which is, aren't you banking on the fact that your base are fucking morons?
Right.
Isn't that why you got elected? Because the short answer is, look, we lied. We lied about everything. This, President asshole promised to release his tax returns for God's sakes, and he's never going to do that. He's got foreign dignitaries and contractors all staying in his hotels, pouring money into his pockets, which is flatly illegal. Nobody's going to enforce that. He said he'd stop doing it, and he's not going to. We lie. Our base doesn't care. It doesn't matter what you say or do. I can sit up here and tell you any fucking thing I want, and unless you cross the line and say, but the real problem, sir, is that your base are reprogrammable meatbags who are incompetent citizens. That's the line you can never cross, and they know that. They know that Chuck Todd is never going to say the voters are the problem. Republican voters are the problem.
Because the Republican voters are our viewers, and as I just tweeted this morning, the purpose of cable news isn't to inform you. I mean, we need to sort of wipe down all of the assumptions that people have made in this world, all right? Yeah. Everything you assume is true is not true. Cable news is not there to inform you. Cable news is to connect the points between pharma ads.
Yeah, that's it.
Once you understand that, it makes sense that Chris Cillizza is on your cable TV channel.
Sure.
It makes sense that we will say shithole 189 times in one day, but we will not discuss race.
No.
And this was a huge thing for me this week. You and I watched this. This is the week. We can't believe it, looking at it Friday afternoon in the middle of a government shutdown. This is shithole week. Okay?
It is.
CNN said shithole, however many times they said it, because it was quoting the President of the United States, and you watched it in real time. Cable news make a decision about saying shithole, right? Actually, this was last Thursday. I know we did catch this a little bit in last week's show.
We did.
But over the course of the weekend and over the course of the week, that did he say shithole or shithouse became an issue of debate, right?
No, except it's not a debate.
But it didn't become the issue was shithole or shithouse with Republican congressmen coming on the air. The issue was not, are countries that have majority black populations a source of immigration for the United States? Do we want them here or not?
Right.
And the answer from Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is no, we don't, because they're black.
Exactly.
And that's racist.
And the whole House versus whole, it's not a debate. Is a lifeline that you throw to Chuck Todd to let him do something that he wants to do, which is parse words, rather than do what he should be doing, which is report on the fact the Republican Party is a racist party from top to bottom.
It's a racist party made up of racists, and if you have an R after your name, you are complicit with racism. That is it.
Or
there were some exceptions in the media. I just want to call out these exceptions. The Daily Show, Don Lemon, and much to her credit, Samantha Bee. did an amazing job on the whole interviewing working class voters and walking into a bar in Western Pennsylvania, allegedly.
Yeah.
And every white coal miner guy already has a reporter next to him taking down everything he's saying.
Bless her heart.
And so she goes to the back of the bar and talks to 8 non-white working class people who work in a steel mill, work in a bar, work, in places where you actually are living paycheck to paycheck. These are working class people. And she finds out none of them voted for Trump.
No,
and
they
have
hate
nothing to do with him and don't want him as their president.
They just want their lives to get a little better. That's all. That's all they want. Their lives to get a little bit better.
She was also terrific on the Me Too backlash, particularly Tucker Carlson, who's, colossal jerk Tucker Carlson. And now this is not about you. This is not about white men thinking that they're being singled out. Boy, oh boy. It's not about that. I'm getting off topic here, but there is a segment of Northeast Corridor media that would rather say shithole on the air 189 times in one day than talk about one party being the racist party.
Well, and you talked about the nature of cable news, and I think that's a good place to sort of branch into the rest of our discussion. When you see, this is the whole thing about why the hell does Chris Cillizza have a job? Hey, why does David Brooks have a job?
Right.
And I went through to John Lovett, who will never answer me because nobody ever answers us Midwesterners from the coast.
With no check mark, yes.
on the Twitter. But it was, why the fuck is Chris Cillizza? Well, okay, why the fuck is, Rick Wilson and Charlie Sykes and Hugh Hewitt and the rest of these, Peggy Noonan and the rest of these assholes, why are they valued, Rich Lowry, for God's sakes, why are these all valued MSNBC contributors all of a sudden? Well, because what you have to understand is you have to reason by deduction. Don't look at anything that says news and accept that it's news. Look at the people they employ and the jobs they do and figure out, reverse engineer what their actual purpose is by the job. Because every one of these people is hired because of who they are.
Right.
So,
well, and I will say, I'm going to say something in defense of Rick Wilson, because today he's all over this release the memo bullshit.
Yeah.
And really, really calling it out, really calling out Devin Nunes and saying, if it's release the memo, why don't we release the FISA warrants that are attached to the memo that you're saying, Barack Obama signed off on and proved worse than Watergate that he was complicit in getting Hillary Clinton into the White House? Is
right.
that what he was complicit
President Clinton is very beholden to Barack Obama.
Right. Okay. And he said, there is no one in the Republican the committee, the Intelligence Committee and the Republican side that wants to actually expose, quote unquote, the FBI or the FISA courts or bring them into the conversation. And that's why it's a memo by Devin Nunes.
Yes.
That we're trying, that's being held back by Democrats, which is imaginary. This whole thing's imaginary. So Rick Wilson, to his credit, has said, it's because it's horseshit. This is why they don't. Let's just really release the FISA information. Let's go back, and if there's really a crime being committed, let's expose it. And they won't, because it's horseshit.
And I do want to also.
I want to say, no,
please.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Rick Wilson, I do believe, is not going back to campaigns. He's not going back to campaigning for Republicans because what he's found on Twitter, what he's found doing what he's doing now is more lucrative than that. And so if he's not going to go back and elect a person who's going to take away my children's health insurance, if he really is abandoning that role, I can accept that he is a vituperative, foul-mouthed, ex-Republican staffer. Okay, yep. That doesn't mean I agree with him on everything or anything.
Yep.
But I can accept the entertainment value of a Rick Wilson if he's not going to go back and start working for some clone of Marco Rubio 20 years from now.
Well,
okay, that's
I agree with every word of that, and I just want to say that the opposite side of that coin is I have been told by people who begin their sentence, I hate Trump as much as anyone. But, the New York Times devoting an entire page to what, Trump voters think and their letters, and by extension, I assume the fact that every goddamn cable station now has its own little subsection of Trump voters. And what do they really think? And all these the million personality profiles and cultural profiles of what the same fucking group of coal miners, the same white people from middle America who voted for Donald Trump are being profiled to death by a tiny enclave of people who live in New York. mostly, or Washington mostly.
Right.
And I'm being told by a few, not many, but a few fellow liberals that, we need to listen to these people. We need to understand them. We might not be able to reach them, but we need to understand them. And all I can say is that is a measure of how completely out of touch you are. Because I have said this before, and I will say it a million times again, all you need to do is get in your goddamn car, if you have one, Uber it if you don't, and drive across the country with AM radio playing. Yep. We here in real America have been listening to these people for 25 goddamn years, pouring out of our radios, pouring out of Fox News. You can't get away from these assholes. If you wanted to know what Trump voters are really like, maybe you shouldn't have dispatched people who take the Acela Corridor train from their home to Connecticut every night and never leave the university campus. Maybe you shouldn't have sent David fucking Brooks out to university campuses to come back with a report that the greatest threat to democracy are campus activists shouting down Nazis.
Yeah.
And that Marco Rubio was definitely going to win.
Definitely going to win.
Maybe what you should do is, if you really want to know what the hell's going on out here, fire these assholes and hire people who actually live out here, who could tell you, no, we've been cheek by jowl with these racist sons of bitches for our entire lives. I'll tell you exactly what they think. And everything that happened after that, up to and including what happened today, would have been entirely predictable.
Yeah, but you won't get a call back from Tom Cotton's staff for an interview on your Sunday show if you do that, Driftglass. Yeah, hi, it's Driftglass. I want an interview with Tom Cotton, okay?
Well, it's also, once you're in the club, even if you're a scumbag like Rich Lowry, you can never be fired.
Yeah.
Because once you start firing people who are in the club, you set a really bad precedent, and the rest of the animals start to panic.
Yeah, right.
And storm the paddock gates. So you have to keep recycling the Peggy Noonans and the Tom Brokaws who want to whinge on about, out in the West, I know a lot of Trump voters. And I once sat down with a beer with a guy named Shady Evans in 1927. Shady said to me, Tom, you're the youngest man I ever met, and you smell like pine trees. And that's
and lecturing the Congressional Black Caucus on how they should listen more.
Right.
That was a good one.
What we need is we need Viking football in our politics. We need someone who can go out for the long bomb and hit it for a home run through the uprights and score a goal. Okay. And oh my God, he's
and no one's called a place for mom to put him away, right?
No, the place for mom is apparently called Meet the Press.
Meet the Press.
And that's where you put all of your senior citizens who drool and meander on about the good old days. There's Peggy Noonan. She's in the pudding room with George Will, sharing a heartening story about Ronald Reagan the time he tried to reach up her ass. But that was not. It wasn't mean or wasn't sexist. He just thought there might be missiles down there. It was communist. You got to trust but verify, Peggy. Trust but verify. So these are the people who should have been cycled out of our news system 20 years ago.
Right, and this is a generational problem. Yeah, and I thought it was fascinating last night on Lawrence. There was a former Navy doctor talking about how Donald Trump is not qualified emotionally to handle nuclear weapons, according to the
by their standards.
Yeah, and but the thing is, he said, in this modern age, it seems common sense that since we continually elect older presidents, that there should be some sort of blah, blah, blah test or cognitive ability and emotional ability and test of whether they have Alzheimer's is what he's saying. And I thought to myself, do we really have to continue to elect? And this is going to be a case for me. I've said this on Twitter. I've said this in public. No more over 65 presidents. And I know that prevents Elizabeth Warren and Al Franken and all kinds of great Democrats from being elected president of the United States. But you're talking about electing someone that you want, if you're in that party, and again, this is both sides. I'm going to be a both-sider here. If you are dedicated to a person in your party having the White House, you want that person to be in the White House for 8 years.
Sure.
I hate Trump I do hate Trump, but I do understand a Trump supporter wants Donald Trump to be reelected. That's what you want. You want your party to represent the White House for as long as they can. It's 8 years. Okay. If you're electing a 74-year-old, that you have to add 8 to that, and you have to figure out, knowing what we know about cognitive abilities as you get older, and this is what no one wants to talk about because the boomers never get old. We never anyone born before 1964, and that's you and I.
Yeah.
Oh no, we just never get old. We don't have to face that, right?
We just keep putting more mayonnaise on the camera lens, and Everything. Why?
Well, there's
Robert
all kinds
Redford
of
looks
solutions
great.
for that. Yeah, and injections and
Right.
there's nonstop industry. It's a $1 billion industry to keep people feeling forever young. But we got to start talking about this
Right.
because people are going to have to go to nursing homes who have no expectation of that and no money to do it. And people are going to need end-of-life care. And we're going to be spending a tremendous amount of money keeping people alive who have no health left to keep them alive.
And this is not to say that people in their 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s aren't sharp and bright.
Don't
and
have something to
capable
contribute. And
able.
this is where I always compare people to my dad because I love my dad and he's 83 years old.
Right. I love my mom.
And he calls me and he does the New York Times crossword puzzle in ink every day and gets it and reads the New York Times then after he's done with the puzzle because, you got to do the puzzle first. And and knows what's going on in the world and knows who I am and reads books and is an artist and has a brilliant mind and all of that and knows that he is not capable of being president of the United States or working a full-time job or commuting every day or. I mean, there are just things that at 83
he knows his limit.
He's not going to do anymore.
Right. And I do have one small
the vanity in the U.S. Senate and elsewhere of people who are in their 70s thinking that they can take on a job like president of the United States, which is, we all know ages people.
Well, that was my caveat. Instead of adding 8 years, you need to add 20.
Yeah, I need to add 20.
Yeah.
And so 20 means they're 103, 93, 97. Mm-hmm. It is, and this is what I do not understand. I understand Utah Republicans love Mitt Romney. I get it. He's 71 years old. Do you really want someone who is not going to be in the Senate in 12 years?
Yes.
You want to hold on to that seat for 30 years, right? Or at least 20. Mm-hmm. You want to hold on to it for, 4 terms maybe? Do
they understand how the Senate works?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
No. And a lot of people in politics don't. I mean, this elect Oprah or elect Michelle Obama. You and I were cracking up about that last night. You think shithole was bad.
No.
If you turn off the go high when they go low filter on Michelle Obama, and she starts telling you what she really thinks of Boehner.
Yeah. I'm not going to go higher. I'm going to go straight through you with a sword in each hand.
With a sword in each hand and meet you on the other side, Michelle Obama, because that's what was between the lines of all those interviews with Michelle Obama and Barack Obama about her not being president. I don't have the temperament.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle really doesn't have the temperament.
No, Barack got the whole.
She sees the bullshit for what it is, right? And will not tolerate it because she doesn't have to.
But Blue Gal,
yes.
How can we make a revolution if we don't elect a 76-year-old independent from Vermont? There'll be no revolution. And then what happens? Bernie, you're a great guy. You've got great ideas. Give them to someone who's 20 years younger than you or 10 years younger. But come on, This is not quite my generation, but it's getting awfully close. And I'm really, and it really is.
And I'm 55 this year, so I'm not a young spring chicken. It's time for new leadership. It really is time for 53-year-olds to have a turn.
Well, and we really do need, and I did get this. This is just sort of take us back to the main course of our podcast. Was that Chuck Todd? One of the critiques of Chuck Todd on the Twitter that made me write a post today, because he did a both sides thing, was Chuck. I respect you somewhat, and this is a good post, but then you went into this both sides bullshit. And let me tell you, the millennials 35 and under ain't having your 35.
No,
that's why.
That's right.
That's why the Crooked Media podcast he promoted, and I was kind of pissed about that. And, the people who listen to Crooked Media, people who listen to that, people who are younger aren't going to have any of it. And I had to weigh in and say, and the professional left was saying this 8 years ago. Yeah. And the professional left bloggers who make up the professional left podcast were saying this 13, 14 years ago.
Right.
So it's not about, in the media, it's not about age. In the media, it's about telling the truth. And there's a real strong bias. I mean, to the point it breaks the function of journalism, because you don't want to tell a bunch of old people in the Midwest that their neighbors are racist. You don't want to tell Tom Brokaw that your nice friends who own giant ranches next to yours are a bunch of fucking racists. and that they are the problem. Your friends, Tom, are the fucking problem. And so you lean back into this lazy, stupid, ridiculous, completely 40 years out of date notion that, if we all just got together and we're bipartisan and both sides, if we just blame both sides enough, eventually the naughty people on the right will sort of wise up and grow up and begin. No. That doesn't work anymore. And people in the media who are selling this lie are not selling some banal cotton candy. They're selling poison. If you hear someone say both sides on TV or on Twitter who's got any position of authority at all, they're selling you poison. And people on television should not be allowed to sell you poison without labeling it as such.
See? Speaking of which, younger people, I just wanted to point out to you, our youngest child is in love with a show called Riverdale, which is Archie and Jughead comic books brought up to a mythical modern age where there are Jughead's in kind of a gang on the wrong side of town school, and Archie's in the Riverdale High. And so youngest child was telling me last night about how things are going on Riverdale, and boy, it's a soap opera. But the point I wanted to make on our podcast was that the way the plots of season 2 is going, there is a private industry that wants the land that the bad high school is on, and is colluding with the mayor of Riverdale to take over the school and use the land for nefarious purposes, and moving students around to different schools. And it's fascinating to me. It reminds me of the fact that in middle child school, when I went through their Scholastic Bowl trivia contest thing, where it was about who are Trump's cabinet members, and nobody knew who Rick Perry was, but everybody knew who Betsy DeVos was. Everybody. A field of 8th graders knew who Betsy DeVos was. And so making it true to life and making it matter to teenagers and people who will be voters in 8 years. And all of a sudden it's corporate industry is trying to take over the public school.
What? Where have I heard about that before? This reminds me of episodes
They're
of
bad
Riverdale.
People. They must be bad people. Yes.
And you know what?
As long as be bad people.
As long as the story doesn't suffer, I don't care about political messaging.
I don't either.
It's a fine thing. It's a very fine thing. I do want to mention, just in passing, the story of people who feed people poison and good stories on TV. That it would be dishonorable of me to not to mention the fact that this is the 10th anniversary of Breaking Bad.
I thought you were going to see Meeting Blue Gal face to face.
Well, no, that's not poison. That's the love of my life.
That's coming up. The week of Valentine's Day, 2008, I went up to Chicago for a Shakespeare Sister meetup.
Good.
And there was a very, very nice man at the Shakespeare Sister meetup named Dirk Glass. He sat next to me.
I did.
And we talked, and he never left my side the whole evening.
Oh.
And all of a sudden people are looking at us and listening to us talking. There was like this lull, right? And you and I are the only two people having a conversation.
And they said
you guys should be on the radio.
You guys should be on the radio.
You guys should be on the radio. Okay.
Yes. We'll have to invent a technology to make that possible. Because that's crazy talk. And then the 50th person said it. We said, okay, fine.
Yeah, once 3 or 4 or 5 people say it, it's time to do something. Yeah. So anyway, here we are, married for... It'll be 7 years in August, and we've known each other face to face. I mean, I'd read your blog and commented. You and I commented on each other's blogs
I went to your salon. I was at your salon.
Years, online salons and stuff. But face-to-face friendship was started 10 years ago next month.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So I mentioned Rick Perry. I want to make sure we slip that little 6 degrees of separation.
Can I just finish one thing?
You finish your thing about. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just want to mention Breaking Bad. Only because it's 10 years. It's an awesome show. Rewatching most of it sort of in one continuous stream, which I didn't do in a blog, but rewatching it sort of as a story, not as a broken episodic thing, is amazing. Because first of all, it is very contemporary. It's one of the 4 great golden age of television shows that changed everything. Secondly, it ends with Nazis, barrels full of money, ruined lives, and a pathological liar who destroys everything in his wake and takes no responsibility for any of it. So it's a very timely story. And if you rewatch it, here's the thing that I found fascinating. I was listening to The Watch, which is another podcast, which is very good, Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan. And they were talking about if you watch the whole thing over again, you can see everything coming. Once you know how the story ends and you're looking for it, you can see how everything was laid in place. Everything wasn't preconceived. The whole gun in the trunk thing, no spoilers, was just something they threw in. And they said, we'll figure out why that's here, but we trust our writing instincts enough to know there should be literally a gun in the trunk. So they figured it out. The next season or the season later, they figured it out. And there were Chekhov's guns. There were hints. There were foreshadows. There were things that were going to pay off 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, just laid out throughout the entire series, and every one of them was used. There was not a wasted space.
Yep.
And the reason I bring that up is for the umpteenth time, I will admit, but I'm saying it for the umpteenth time, if you are a liberal, you have seen the Trump administration coming for decades. It wasn't
at least 2 decades and possibly more.
It wasn't orange necessarily. It wasn't necessarily particularly going to be Donald Trump, but you could see what was happening to the Republican Party and the conservative movement and the media in this country plain as fucking day for decades. And you've been warning people and jumping up and down with your hair on fire. And every time they took another step down the road to hell, every time it was it was impeaching Clinton, or it was Tom DeLay, or lying us into the wrong war, or the Tea Party, the whole I was never there, it's no responsibility of mine, the whole movement. Every step that this depraved, racist party has taken down this road, all the way back to, for some of you, to Nixon and the Southern strategy. Every step along the way, people on the left have been warning this is coming, and now it is here.
Well, and I would include in that the so far 18 resignations from the House. Yeah. I would include people. There was, I don't remember which cable show it was. I'm sure it was on MSNBC. Someone expressing surprise that there were 18. Oh my God, there's 18 Republican congressmen who have decided not to run for re-election in November. You and I could have predicted that 5 years ago.
Oh, sure.
That at some point the money runs out and the scam is up and the 3-card Monte game has to leave town.
Got to fold the game and leave town, man. Ahead of the cops, because the days of reckoning are coming, and you got to get out with the money in your pocket. Don't get greedy.
Right.
Don't stay in the vault for more than 90 seconds.
They got greedy. They wrote their tax cut, and now it's time to go. So they got their tax cut and time to leave, and you can become go back to your used car lot and do whatever, right? Okay.
And the only people who are not allowed to talk in public on camera about the nature of the Republican Party and the Trump voters and how we got here are the people who were right all along. And that's what's so completely bizarre and unnerving about our public conversations now. The very people who are most qualified by virtue of years of scar tissue to talk about what's happening right now are the people who are absolutely not allowed to talk about it, not anywhere. And I believe, I don't want to segue too hard, but I believe you have a Bible bitch this week. Is that?
No, I don't. I just have a quote from Seven Eyes by Neil Stephenson.
Okay.
And this is a book that a podcast listener sent to us. And I do want to thank all the podcast listeners who've sent us books. Some of them have come anonymously. Others have come in a box with a note. And if you're ordering them from Amazon, please order them as a gift and send. You don't have to gift wrap them or anything, but at least let us have a return receipt that tells us that it's from you so we can thank you. It's a little confusing when we don't know who ordered these books. But we're so glad to have them and appreciate you so much. But a podcast listener who we love sent us a copy of Neil Stephenson's Seven Eyes, which I just started reading. So I'm really enjoying it, though. And there is I'm not going to give away anything in the book at all in terms of plot. There is a Neil deGrasse Tyson type character in the beginning of the book. He's a scientist who's on TV a lot. And his name is Dubois. And he's at an event where a bunch of children are looking through telescopes. And that's all I'm going to say. Bunch of children looking through telescopes. And he's there as semi-famous, Dr. Scientist on TV kind of guy. And he says, the evening went fine. Doob, his nickname is Doob, who had raised 3 children to adulthood, had figured out a long time ago that any event largely organized by elementary school teachers was likely to come off extremely well from a logistical and crowd control standpoint.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so let's talk about the special election in Wisconsin and how a school board member won a seat in the state Senate that had been held by Republicans for 20 years.
Yep.
Where Trump won by 16 points a year ago.
And won it pretty handily.
Yeah, a year by 16 points. And so this is where our politics is going in terms of the energy of the revolution. And you and I are going to a march tomorrow.
Yes, we are. Tomorrow we march.
March this weekend. They're happening over 2 days. And I don't, fingers crossed, I'm hoping that we have the kind of crowds that get national attention and piss off the president, because we need to. The so-called president needs to have his $100,000 a couple party interrupted by lots and lots and lots of people on the streets, letting him know that we're still here a year later.
And it's going to be big. I don't know. I'm out of the prediction business. I don't know if it can top the largest gathering in history.
In world history.
But, oh boy, are there going to be a lot of marches tomorrow.
Yep. So, we'll be at the one in Springfield, Illinois. So, and the organizing, anything, this is what I think is going to surprise everybody in November. The talent and the skills and the skill set that you need to win a primary and win an election are exactly the skill set you need to put together a parent-teacher organization. It's phone calls, it's getting people together, it's making sure they know where they're going and what they're supposed to do. And if the goal is to get everyone to a pep rally, you do that. If it's to sell popcorn at a sporting event, you do that.
Yep.
If it's to get people to go and cast a vote and be registered, that kind of paperwork, checkmark stuff, it's grunt work. But women who are of a certain age and have corralled children know how to do this already. It is not complicated from the standpoint of having that skill set of connecting people and getting them to do things. We have a woman running against Rodney Davis here in Springfield.
Yes, we do.
She is opening her office exactly 2 hours after the march.
Yes.
Surprise, downtown. So, and the focus of this year's march is voter registration. And I'm sure there will be lots of opportunities to fill out a voter registration card at these marches. If you're not registered, you have no excuse not to be registered after this weekend. And winning elections will happen. And of course, we lost a lot too this week in out of the 4 special elections that were kind of state of that level of attention. Because of Republican gerrymandering.
Yes.
So we have to run everywhere, and we have to continue to run everywhere. And as we gain in seats owned, we can then undo. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding that's going to have to be done after all of this is over. And I hope that you guys will stick with us once Trump is gone. I expect you will.
Well, and that's the thing, the rebuilding. I mean, we all said, those of us with long memories, all said, look, after the Bush administration, the worst presidency in modern history, which it was. Let's not pretend it wasn't. The Bush administration was a catastrophe. Was after this lunatic and his asshole cronies are finally out of the White House, it's going to take a generation to clean up the mess they left behind.
Yeah.
And I still believe that. What my dear centrist, moderate friends refused to acknowledge until it was far too late was once the fire department showed up and started putting out fires and trying to dig us out of the shit that they'd put us into, that the same people that had cheered George Bush on would start attacking the fire department. Slashing the fire hoses and cutting the water lines to it and blowing up buildings and calling the fire department Kenyan. They're not born here, so they shouldn't be here. That the cleanup crew, who were just there to just clean up the gigantic mess that everyone agrees needed to be cleaned up, would be attacked because suddenly all these assholes who spent 8 years applauding George Bush had a lot of spare time on their hands. So suddenly they put on funny hats and they decided to become a Tea Party independents, and they attacked the road crew that was cleaning up after the disaster they had created.
Right.
So this time around, those people cannot be spared. No lifeboats for
the
those.
lifeboats. Exactly.
No lifeboats for those. No, I'm sorry. If you weren't with us when Trump, during the darkest times of the worst president in history, then you should just either you're the enemy or you should go sit down and shut the fuck up until we're done cleaning. But you don't get any place in the media. You don't get any microphones. There's no place for you anywhere near the grown-ups who are trying to clean up your 2 consecutive messes. Period. Full stop.
And I don't have a lot of hope that we're going to completely succeed in that regard.
No.
But I am seeing hope in the number of people who are using our language and our way of speaking on Twitter, talking back to Chuck Todd.
Yeah. And that was very exciting to see today.
That was really heartening.
It was
that when he decides to say, they shut down both sides.
He was swarmed.
He was swarmed.
I could just stand. And you know what? There was one asshole who said both sides. And what did he call himself?
You go over to his bio.
What is he? What political party is he?
I'm an independent.
He's a radical independent. Of course he is, because there's always one asshole at the picnic who's there to fuck it up for everybody else. But everyone else was just like, you could just eye rolls, swearing, Jesus Christ, how do you live with yourself? What the hell is your problem? And it was dozens and dozens, and it was immediate. This is what I'm talking about. If you could focus liberal attention on a few key issues, not policy issues, because I think we're all sort of in agreement that there's a spectrum of discussion to be had among grown-ups, and that's great. But taking down the crappy media that is wrecking this country, taking down the fake center that's propping up the right. If we can focus our attention on a few key things like adjectives, calling things Republicans, quit saying we when you mean them, and so forth, we really can get under their skin enough to make them change. Because the only thing Chuck Todd is afraid of in this life is retribution from the right.
Yep.
That's the only thing that moves him. The refs have been worked by the right for a generation now. The only thing that scares the shit out of them is the idea that Fox News is going to come down on their necks. So we need to make ourselselves as big and scary as Fox News, and we can do it because we're smarter than they are, and we're better than they are, and we're sexier than they are, and we're more good-hearted and more generous of spirit than they are.
And for people who think that or try to push the agenda item that the Democrats don't stand for anything, head on over to the Organize for Action store, which is Barack. It used to be Organize for Obama or Obama for America, I think it was. Yeah. But, they have the Organizing Ampersand T-shirt and water bottle that says on it, and it fits on a water bottle, this is my point, climate change, economic opportunity, gun violence prevention, health care, immigration reform, marriage equality, and women's rights. What Democrats stand for fits on a water bottle.
Yeah.
And it's boring because we've been for this for 50 years.
Yeah.
So we're for science. We're for equality under the law. And the fact that that's not sparkly and new means the media thinks we don't have a message. We have a message. It's a traditional message. It's a moral majority message.
Yeah.
It's as old as America. It's an apple pie mom.
It is.
Heartland message. And that's what we stand for. And don't let anybody get away with saying, well, I'd vote for Democrats, but they don't stand for anything but abortion.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, go away.
Have we forgotten anything, Driftglass?
Oh, well,
I have something else I want to talk about.
I'd like to plow through the news. It was a very busy news week. I do have in my notes, when is a privilege, not a privilege, but that's executive privilege.
Yeah.
And that happened. A whole bunch of stuff happened this week. So why don't you jump in, and then we'll scoot through the news, and then we'll go smooth.
Sure, we can alternate on these news notes you put in here. Sure. Okay. You start. Go ahead.
Well, we've already touched on the fact that John Kelly bit the hand that fed him today or this week.
Yep. And the New York Times did a Wingnut fan page.
Yes, they did. Come on, kids, let's all write in. Yeah.
All white.
Yeah, it's all white page. It's the White Album. The New York Times White Album. And here's this is one of those statistics that everyone who listens to this podcast should just go, of course. There are 48% of Americans who are going to blame Donald Trump, who currently blame Trump and the Republicans for a potential government shutdown. How many people blame the Democrats, Blue Gal?
I would say between 25 and 33%.
28%.
28%.
You know who they are. You know
exactly
their name.
who they are.
They have their own page in the New York Times now.
They have their own page in the New York Times, and they're white people.
Yeah,
yes,
very, very white.
Omarosa Manigault Newman may have taped confidential West Wing conversations on her phone.
Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? And that means she gets to be famous for another 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes, yeah.
Yay! Sean Hannity, from whom speaks ex cathedra for Fox News and all good right-thinking wingnuts everywhere, has declared that Robert Mueller's quote-unquote witch hunt is now over. It's over.
This is going to be a real surprise when Robert Mueller comes up and says, "Oh no, it's not.
No.
I'm going to indict somebody else."
Old Taterhead Sean has said that it's over, and that means there are tens of millions of Americans out there who are going to march out tomorrow and believe that it's all over. And my oh my, aren't they going to be surprised?
Well, they're going to lose a lot of interest in politics, though. They're just not going to pay attention to any of it.
I have noticed that. I have noticed that a lot of very, very voluble, vocal, emphatic, Trump-voting, Republicans for life, ride or die assholes are suddenly not interested in politics anymore. I don't follow politics. I don't pay much attention anymore. It's all so angry, and I wish people would stop being so hateful.
It's so divisive. Yeah.
I listen to these three sacks of potatoes on the MSNBC show. These three pod people talking about Donald Trump. You know what they hate the most, Blue Gal? The hatefulness and the viciousness and the
name calling.
And the vitriol.
I won't vote for a Democrat cuck because of all the name calling on the left.
Well, they just hate him. It never stops. Saturday Night Live is funny, but it's too much. It's too much. Says the people who voted for the fucking birther in chief.
Right.
And they don't see it. They literally don't see it because
they literally do not remember yesterday.
They have let Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh take
dump in their skull.
Take a dump in their skull, and that's all they know. And that's all.
The fresh poop that's in there, not the old poop. The old poop dries up and blows away. Okay.
Well, this is fresh.
Chip kids. Not only are chip kids being used by the Republicans as hostages, and now everyone knows it, in the middle of a flu epidemic, which is attacking every state except for Hawaii and Alaska, the CDC will be on furlough because of Donald Trump and the Republican Party not being able to govern. And this flu epidemic has killed at least 10 infants in the past week. It is a serious problem. And it is an officially an epidemic. And Donald Trump, I wonder if this is Donald Trump's Katrina. Well, said no one on cable news.
I'm sorry, Blue Gal, but I have to ask the most important question of all, which is why won't Obama lead? Why won't Obama lead?
Well, and these whiny ass titty babies wondering why the Democrats won't help them vote for racism and a monument to racism and a policy based on racism, and we are holding children hostage to get our racism passed.
And I know the shape of the deal is really easy. We front Donald Trump personally the money to do it, and if he doesn't pay it back, we take away all of his property, all of his homes, all of his bank accounts until we're at zero, until he pays his loan back. And if he wants to put up his entire fucking fortune, which I think is much smaller now than it certainly was smaller than a billionaire, but now it's gotten a lot bigger because of all the foreign money pouring into his pockets. If he wants to put his personal fortune up, great, I'll sign that deal every day. So let's do that deal instead.
Well, I thought that's why people voted for Donald Trump, because he was beholden to no one because he was rich.
Yes, I'm beholden to no man. A guy named Ivan the Ice Pick, sure.
Yeah, but Ivan the Ice Pick, okay.
Yeah.
You have the next one. Trump is personally monkey wrenching?
He is. And we've touched on this a little bit already, but Donald Trump is personally fucking up his own budget fight every day so badly that even his lapdogs are starting to pee just a little bit in his lap. It's like Mitch McConnell's like, I don't know what the hell this guy wants. I just want to suck his dick and go home, and he won't tell me. You were playing hide the sausage. He's making me go around the room blindfolded looking for his dick. I don't know where it is, and I don't know what to do. And Lindsey Graham is just like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm not going to vote for this madness anymore. Et cetera, et cetera. But it really is predictable to watch them reach these are totally amoral people. If you're a Republican, if you have an R after your name, you are the problem. These are totally amoral, calculating human misery machines. And even they have just fucking had it. So now they're just Democrats. It's all the Democrats' fault. Just don't blame us for anything. Please let us go home. And that's not working out so good.
Yep. The House Intelligence Committee, the Republicans in particular, are a bunch of traitors. I'm just going to say that. Yeah. There was an interview transcript with Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson released, and you should go watch Rachel Maddow this week talk about that. It's very, very bad.
Very bad. Not for the Democrats. It's very, very bad.
One side.
No,
it's only bad for one side.
Now,
and Devin Nunes has done this whole release the memo thing that we talked about earlier.
Now, if you take Vladimir Putin and Russian mobsters and the National Rifle Association, you pick it's a grab bag of the worst possible people and organizations in the world, and you put them all together. You know what you have, Blue Gal? You have a funding
Republican Party.
Yeah, you have a funding source for the Donald Trump campaign last year. Apparently, Russian bankers illegally funneled money to the NRA, tripling the amount they put in any other presidential campaign in the past, in order to help Donald Trump win, which is just. Oh, really?
It's perfect.
Really?
It's really a perfect circle of the worst people in the world. Yeah, and it's all dark money.
Yeah.
This is when we get power back, all of this is going to change.
Well, and
it's going to make 1974 look like a cakewalk compared to what we're going to do to clean up this government and make it accountable and make there be sunshine in this funding stream for politics.
Because remember, the way the Aryan Nation was taken down was money. They went after their money.
Well, the way Al Capone was taken down.
Yeah. So you know how you take the NRA down? You tie him to the Russian mob and then tie that to the Trump campaign and watch them all fall like dominoes.
And I think you're going to look at the board of directors of the NRA are going to be put under investigation.
Yeah, we'd like to chat with you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
No, sorry, you don't have executive privilege. Shut up and get in here.
Yeah. Yelp reviewers have been giving the Trump International Hotel in Washington hundreds of one-star reviews, describing the properties as a shithole.
Yes. As the next item, I just have Wendy Dang Murdoch.
Yeah, and that's all you need to know is whether she was Putin's girlfriend, whatever was going on in the Chinese world of multi-billionairesses, the fact that Ivanka Trump left town and went shopping with Wendy Dang Murdoch, left her 4-month-old because she needed a break and she needed to decompress.
Me time.
And so she had a little me time, so she went shopping in Eastern Europe with Wendy Dang Murdoch in August of 2016. At the same time that her husband was, taking out loans from Deutsche Bank to bail himself out, and it's all just very bad.
Yeah, it's like there's this giant Philip K. Dick novel, and it's like, you know what? We can cram one more chapter into this son of a bitch. Let's take a Chinese deep cover spy,
ex-wife of the owner of Fox News,
ex-wife of Fox News, and rumored to be dating Ivan the Terrible, Vladimir Putin, and have her hanging and banging with the Trump kids. Because that's just perfect. And that's when they threw Philip Dick out of the office, saying,
"Said that's too far. You've gone too far.
Come back when you've sobered up." All right, next one's you. 64
trade groups, foreign governments, Republican candidates, and more stayed at or held events at Trump properties during his first year in office. Yeah, it's drain the swamp. What can I say?
Well, and here's a swamp drainer for you. Remember that Consumer Financial Protection Bureau Senator Dr. Elizabeth
$12 million to consumers over the past since their existence.
Oh, they've saved a ton of money. I think billion, Blue Gal, not million, but I'm not sure.
It's getting there.
But they were set up specifically to help those coal miners, Blue Gal. Those middle class people who get screwed by the man. By big banks. This is the agency that was set up to help them not get screwed over by scam artists like Donald Trump. Well, the new head of that agency is a guy named Mick Mulvaney, who you might know from other departments, such as. So he's now running two departments.
He's the budget director also, yeah.
And he's decided that he wants zero money in the budget for this department. And this is pretty common. This happened during the Reagan administration all the time. Legal Services Foundation got zero funded every year by its director because Ronald Reagan hated black people, hated poor people, and hated the idea that we're going to give them lawyers to protect themselves. So he put an asshole in charge of that agency to zero funding. Now, Congress said, no. You're taking the money, and you're going to use the money. But who knows this time? I'm not sure. Anyway, Mulvaney has obviously declared his great love of screwing the taxpayer by telling them the agency set up to protect you is the one we're not going to fund at all. So bravo, Mickey. Bravo.
All right. Senator talks a good game. Jeff Flake talked a good game this week.
He did.
Yes, he did. Nothing will come of it because virtue signaling is all a Jeff Flake will ever do.
He's going to compare Trump to Stalin, then vote for everything Donald Trump wants, and then run away. That's what qualifies as a brave, daring, noble step out and take one for the Team Republican these days. They're all horrible, Blue Gal. They're all
right, hang in there. We've only got 5 more items.
Wisconsin Democrats, as we mentioned, flipped a state Senate seat in the special election,
yes, they did.
Which is amazing.
Smokey the Bear says only you voters can prevent Republican political arson. 3/4 of the National Park Service Advisory Panel resigned in frustration. Actually, it's now 10 of the 12 have resigned at last count. 10 of 12 have abruptly quit this week, citing frustration that the Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke is too busy taking private planes to drilling conferences and not meeting with them or holding a single meeting in the last year, which they are required by their charter to do. They are the people that name national monuments and national treasures.
The National Park Service. If there's one thing that we hold up in this country as a jewel, it's our national parks. And they appointed a guy. Right. Just fuck that. 42% of Republicans, apparently 42% of Republicans consider negative news stories that are accurate to be fake news. So Fox News, your work is done. You've insulated these people from reality forever, to their detriment forever. Congratulations.
Yep. Puerto Rico is still a disaster. Chip is still in limbo. Dreamers are still hanging by a thread. And let's not forget that the state of Kentucky is trying to put work requirements and literacy requirements as well, apparently, on Medicaid recipients.
Medicaid, because you can't ever be cruel enough to poor people.
Well, and the governor of Kentucky, who is a mini Trump, has signed an executive order threatening the courts that if they try to stop him from putting work orders on Medicaid, he will cancel Medicaid expansion, canceling insurance for 400,000 of his own citizens.
Yeah, they're hostage takers.
So he's a one-term governor, if I have anything to say about it. And you cannot recall him. There's no provision for that in the Kentucky state constitution. So they can impeach him, but of course that's not going to happen. So
hey, do you want to mention the great Rick Perry hug?
Well, that was the thing that I was going to mention earlier. Yeah, that we're 1 degree of separation from the photographer.
Yes.
Who took the picture of Rick Perry hugging an oil executive and got fired for it.
Yes.
And apparently there's a whole lot of people offering him to buy him a beer. I hope there will be someone offering to give him a job as well, because he got fired for taking that picture. We would like to remind everyone that you are the liberal media, and we hope all of you will be out at a march this weekend. We would love to hear from you on Twitter at ProLeft Podcast, and send us pictures of where you are and what you're doing. I want to take a moment. When 3 people contact me about something, that's a sign that I need to say something. People have been asking about the different ways to give to the podcast. And I thought a little behind the scenes rundown of when we get your money was kind of important to know. If you donate by check, we get your money and we deposit it in our bank account. If you send us PayPal, we have access to your money within 24 hours. If you send us money via Patreon, we get your money once a month. And most people that are on Patreon know that. That is a monthly giving. The only option is to give by the month. So you're committing to giving monthly, and we get that at the beginning of the month. So that's great. If you give via GoFundMe, and we still have that GoFundMe up, we get that at the beginning of each week. So if GoFundMe is a rolling thing where they just take if it's $9 or $100, they forward whatever that week's take is and give it to us on Monday, and they direct deposit that into our account, so our PayPal account. So that goes straight through, and then we have it in PayPal.
What if they buy merch on Zazzle, Blue Gal?
that takes forever.
Yeah, that takes, apparently that's just...
But we know that there's a grand moral support there by wearing our merch.
We do.
Yes, we want you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
By wearing and carrying our merch around, we appreciate that. But yeah, we have to earn $50 before they'll send us a check for that. So yeah, or send us a PayPal for that. Don't worry about that.
No.
That wasn't even on my list. The last one is Amazon, which, as you know, they canceled our account.
Right.
I'm waiting for some podcast friends of ours who tried to sign up again for Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other podcasters who got a lot of podcasters got canceled at the end of last year.
Right.
Lost their money for Christmas sales, and they signed up again after the beginning of the year and got back on, and now have ads on their website for Amazon. I'm waiting to see if they're going to get paid for that before we go ahead with any Amazon ads on our website, because I'm not interested in advertising for Amazon for free.
Nope.
Amazon takes 60 days to pay you back
for
any earnings. And so when they cancel you, they are actually taking back 2 months of sales. And I think I've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Amazon is by far and away the best money in terms of not having to do anything to get it.
It's a straight percentage pass-through.
And it doesn't, it doesn't come out of your pocket at all. You're purchasing things at Amazon, and then they are giving us a portion of that. But they can cancel without warning, and they can cancel you for no reason. That's in the contract. So I'm waiting to see if it's for real that they're going to accept podcasts again, successful podcasts again, as part of their business plan at Amazon. And if they do, if I feel like the people that I know are trying to sign up again get money again and are being paid, we'll do something with Amazon again. But because the money is good from Amazon, and I can certainly understand why some podcasters have signed up right away again, because missing that income is huge. It really is.
It takes a big bite.
Takes a huge bite.
And if you send us, a yarn or booze through the mail, that just arrives.
Oh my God! And cheesecake.
Yeah.
We got Japanese scotch and cheesecake from Japan.
We did. They're delicious.
It was very, very good.
Still is, by the way.
You didn't drink the whole bottle of scotch in a week.
Not yet.
Not yet. But
once the government shuts down Blue Gal, I'm gone. I'm gone.
And what did the person that sent us that said, I don't read Japanese, but somewhere on this label it says, everybody take a drink. Yeah. But thank you for all the goodies you send, and all the love that you send, and the tweets that you send, and everything you do for us. And that's sort of a behind the scenes how we get paid. And we appreciate you, especially as we've lost that Amazon income, filling in a gap as much as you can. We do really want to thank everyone for doing that. All right. Each week, we post to our Facebook page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's Internet Kitty is Lacey. Lacey is a rescue with beautiful whiskers. She's a Manx kitty, so she's got that little stubby tail.
Yeah.
And her owner says that Lacey keeps us sane and calm just like you do, Professional F Podcast. Oh, how nice. Go visit Lacey at our Facebook page and website. You can send your Internet Kitty to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service Go Postal Union's letter on the air unless you say otherwise. I want to do a shout out to Grant. Grant wrote us, and he read an article in the Washington Post about a young Virginia GOP leader who quit the party this week over Trump's tweets and how he didn't go with the racism, so he quit the party. And so what did he say at the conclusion of the article? Grant says, I just scared my wife screaming, I'm an independent.
He's an independent now. Screw this whole party nonsense. I'm an independent. Yeah,
I'm an independent.
That's great. Just say I'm
Don't
irrelevant.
Scare your wife, Grant.
I'm irrelevant. I'm going to go back to voting Republican as soon as this orange asshole's out the White House.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
that's what that means. That's exactly
what that means. But we appreciate that when you see that word, you hear my voice say that. I get feedback on that a lot, and I'm glad that I have planted that little seed in your head that when you see the words I'm an independent or I'm an independent constitutional conservative, you know to call bullshit on it. Thanks for doing that.
She's in your head.
The air.
She's in your head.
In a good way. All right. Don't forget our gourmet coffee guideline if you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, even if it's a vegan espresso-based beverage, which is the only thing I'm allowed to buy anymore for my middle child.
Yes.
She's gone full vegan. She's just gone full vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Buy one for us. This is not charity. This is our job. Approximately 1% of our listeners support this podcast with a contribution, and you can too. See our website, proleftpod.com, for details. All the information you need to donate in any way you want to is there at proleftpod.com.
Yes, indeed.
Please share our show on Facebook or Twitter, and thank you for doing that. Hey, Drift Class, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Lugal, citing executive privilege, the Internet Kitties declined to answer any questions about how things are going this week.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional F Podcast is recorded under Creative Commons license. Copyright 2018, DGBG Productions Incorporated.